Hello. Do you know what a dhimmi is? And do you know what jizya is? Well, we've been paying the jizya required of dhimmis for years and years to Gaza, and nobody seems to have noticed. I'm Granniopteryx. Okay, so a dhimmi is a legal definition in Islamic jurisprudence, and it means somebody who isn't a Muslim. And a dhimmi is required to pay jizya, which is a tax on not being a Muslim. Technically, it's a tax on not being eligible for being called up to the army. So technically, all Muslim men are liable to conscription of some sort, so they can go and conquer new lands. And dhimmis are not. And that's the point. So you pay this tax. During the, I think it was probably about the 14th century, our 14th century, and in Egypt, so many dhimmis were converting to Islam, mostly in order to avoid the jizya, that there was an embargo on it because the government wasn't getting enough revenue from their protection racket. That's what we've been doing all this time. If you look at Gaza, and you check on how much money has been, billions has been pouring into Gaza from Europe. And yet the people still live in poverty, and nobody's been asking why, really. Nobody's been saying, look, we're sending all this money in aid. What's happening to it? Well, we know it's being creamed off by the leaders of Hamas, but even worse than that. For instance, here is a video about water pipes donated by the EU. Not only are they doing this, they're filming it and they're proud of it. Those water pipes were supplied by Europe and they're digging them up. And then now they don't have a water supply because they're not getting their water supply from Israel anymore. They expected Israel to supply them with water, even as they were cutting Israeli throats. What's going on now, or what went on at the end of last week, that was not unusual. It was just more. I've had several stories about people being killed, you know, but they send in one or two to go and do some throat cutting. This time it was a whole lot of them. Actually, I have a theory about that. I am not entirely sure that's what they intended when they started this. I suspect that these guys were supposed to go for military installations, but seeing all these young people at that concert, for instance, they just couldn't control themselves because they were badly prepared and they were trained to use the equipment but not to be soldiers, and they just were sort of so filled with hate from their childhood propaganda at school in Gaza that they couldn't control themselves and they just went on a rampage. I mean, that's a personal idea I've had, because they say how many Israelis so far, according to what I've heard up to now, about 1,300 Israelis killed, mostly women and children, and about 170 soldiers. So it means they weren't engaging soldiers at all. They were just engaging more or less unarmed civilians. Some of the civilians were armed, but most of them were farmers, kibbutzim, or children, of course. You know, that's an obvious target, isn't it? Anyway, where was I? Yeah, back to jizya. So the Israelis had been supplying Gaza with water and electricity. at either free or knockdown rates. Also medical supplies and care. So, and they were going over into Israel every so often and doing a couple of murders or sending some rockets across and still expecting the Israelis to provide them with water and electricity, which the Israelis were foolish enough to do. Jizya. They had this idea in their mind that they have to pay this tax to the Gazans for the privilege of not being Muslim, I suppose. I don't know. Now, Egypt, by the way, has a border with Gaza. Did you know that? That's something that the West seems to ignore. But nobody expects the Egyptians to supply the Gazans with water or electricity. Why is that? Because we know deep down they're fellow Muslims. They don't pay jizya. We have internalized our dhimmitude. What do you think of that? Did you realize this was the situation? That we're all paying taxes to Gaza for the privilege of being dhimmis? And now Gaza is in serious trouble. And the Israelis are telling the Gaza citizens to move out of Gaza City because they want to bomb it flat. Because that means when they go in there to get the Hamas people, well, that's their theory anyway. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. But at least they won't have snipers shooting out of fifth-story windows. But the Gazans, they need help. Why aren't the Egyptians opening the borders and establishing care for them? No, we don't expect them to do that. We expect the UN to come in, the Western countries, the ones who are not Muslim, the ones who pay jizya. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds, also on Twitter and Gab, where I let you know when I've uploaded new videos. Please like this video. That's really important. Share it, subscribe. When you're on YouTube, remember to click the notification bell. And all the links are in the description, including links for donations. I'm always very happy to get donations. They're very useful. But clicking the like button is the best thing you can do for this video and to increase the reach of my channel. And do subscribe. I was told by the YouTube people that although I have 39,000 subscribers, only about 3,000 are actually getting notifications. Right, so back to the Middle East. And just on a lighter note, in a grim sort of horrible way, we have this. I mean, this is beyond surrealistic. This is in Memo, the Middle East Monitor. Hamas says, our assault, raping partygoers, our assault thwarted a planned Israeli attack on Gaza. So they sent their fighters in, their terrorists. They sent them in to kidnap Israelis and to murder Israelis and to murder foreign nationals as well. In fact, anybody they came across. Apparently, they were just going down the main road, machine gunning the cars on the main road. And an Israeli correspondent of mine told me they found the dogs that people had in their cars still sitting there waiting for their owners to wake up. Heartbreaking. These people went and did this in the hope of thwarting, well, with the as a means of stopping the Israelis from attacking them. That's like sticking your hand in a lion's mouth in the expectation that this will stop the lion from eating you. Deputy Hamas leader Sheikh Salah al-Aruri said on Thursday that his movement's military assault on Israeli settlements and military bases, 170 Israeli soldiers as against a total of 1,300. Near Gaza, thwarted a planned Israeli attack on Gaza. That went well, didn't it? They live in, this guy lives in some sort of a dream world. I don't know what logic he could use to justify what he just said. So he stressed that Hamas had received intelligence. Intelligence and Hamas don't go together. Hamas has received intelligence indicating that the Israeli occupation, now you notice how a memo calls this the Israeli occupation. It's an interesting way of putting it because you see the Israelis haven't been in Gaza since 2005 when they moved Israeli citizens out of settlements there by force because those people didn't want to go. They said, right, we've got factories, we've got greenhouses, we've got all this stuff. We'll move the Israelis out. The Gazans can use it, you know, jizya, and they're going to be a Mediterranean Singapore. It took the Gazans about 3 days to destroy it all. They were actually going there with hammers, you know, stealing the plastic from the greenhouses and smashing the glass. I saw the video. I don't have it with me now. I haven't been able to find it now. Anyway, the Israeli occupation intended to launch an assault on the organisation after the Sukkot holiday so that Hamas carried out this preemptive strike. Right, well, yeah, that's it. So I don't know what the Hannibal Directive is, so maybe somebody can explain that to me. But apparently the Israeli army followed the Hannibal Directive in several places, which led to a high number of casualties. And the Israeli and Western claims that we commit crimes are lies. I think we know who's doing the lying here. But this guy lives in a dream world. You send thugs to rape people in Israel, and that's a preemptive strike, and they don't commit crimes. It's just astonishing. How can you even negotiate with people like that? But yeah, back to the jizya. We've got to think about our attitude. The West knows. I mean, those European governments knew that the Gazans were digging up the water pipes that the European governments had donated and were turning them into rockets. That's the first I heard of it was that video I saw a couple of days ago, which I'm putting up now in this video. Absolutely amazing. And yeah, we've internalized our Dhimmitude. That's the only possible explanation for this. And the Israelis too, for all their, you know, swaggering braggadocio, they were the ones who were giving these guys water and electricity. Isn't that jizya? And obviously the people in Gaza were thinking, well, yeah, I mean, that's our due. We're the Muslims, they're the infidels. Okay, well, let's think about our Dhimmitude for a while, should we? Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.